everyone, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today as I take a deeper look into the most recent episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville, Season 5, Episode 14. I will not be doing a full episode recap because there are plenty of other content creators who do a great job covering the show. Instead, I'm going to focus on specific segments of the episode that I believe could be used as teachable moments for myself and the audience. So the episode starts with Marceau and Tisha having a conversation on their date night about, the ins and outs of their business, what's going on in their home. And Marceau brings up the fact that he invited Melody for a conversation. And Tisha got upset because he did not notify her about this meeting. And she was kind of triggered about the fact that he was talking to Melody via text behind her back, which is an understandable concern, especially if you have a track record like Marceau. Tisha knows him more than we do. So if she suspects or if she has experienced him being a cheater in the past, she probably would not appreciate him texting any woman behind her back. All right. Then she talks about the fact that her and Melody are not friends. Melody said that she's an enemy, but at the same time, she had no problem showing up to Melody's beach house for the vacation per the invitation of Martell. And so it looked a bit contradictory for her to say this. Marceau got triggered because she was basically checking him on camera. She was pulling his chain in a little bit and standing 10 toes down about her position, about the fact that, she didn't appreciate the way he went about arranging a meeting with Melody without her knowing about it. Anyway, Marceau eventually meets up with Melody to talk about Mark and her mother. And Melody's like, I'm not really interested in this conversation. But Marceau was like, I just want to make sure that we follow the rules that we established a few weeks ago at our, our group meeting, because things got out of hand on social media. And we want to make sure that I kept you abreast of what was going on with Mark and the conversation that we had. And Melody was like, thank you, but, I didn't really need to come here for this. And that's true. He could have called her on the phone, and put her on speaker with an earshot of Tisha, and they could have a conversation on the phone. So anyway, that was a pointless meeting, to be honest. He could have spoke to her over the phone. In the final scene, Marceau is helping Kimmy to prepare a little dinner party for the original 6, which is Marceau, Maurice, Martell, Kimmy, Tisha, and Melody. And she's going to disclose her cancer diagnosis to Martell and Melody, who are not aware because they're not family. And, it was a really emotional scene. I was happy to see them all together the way they used to be in Season 1 before the fallout of Martell and Melody's messy divorce. And the chemistry between the cast members was one of the reasons why I watched the show in the first place, because in spite of their interpersonal dysfunctions and their incompatibilities and some of the challenges they had in their relationships, you could tell that prior to the show, they knew each other, right? They were so-called friends, okay? They were associates. They were somewhat close to each other, okay? What struck me was the fact that Kimmy told Melody that she appreciated her giving her the space and the time to get back in touch with her. Because when Stormy had her little get-together a few weeks ago, Kimmy was emotional and upset. And at the time, she did not want to disclose why to Melody, because Melody asked her, "You okay?" And Kimmy was like, she didn't want to talk about it at the time. This struck me because in Season 1 and 2, one of the reasons why Melody and Tisha fell out is because Tisha took it personal that Melody needed her own time and her own space to heal or to process whatever she was going through with Martell. And so instead of Tisha giving Melody grace and space and time and being compassionate about what was going on, she decided to attack Melody and project her guilty conscience onto Melody. Because Marceau knew about Martell cheating before Melody did. Okay? And I think if Marceau knew about it, then Tisha could have known about it too. Right? In Season 1 and 2, people were saying that Marceau was helping Martell to hide the paper trail. He was using the Scope Company to hide the expenses of Martell's affair with Arionne. Okay, so Marceau would be the one to pay Arionne's bills using the money that Martell gave him through their company, Scout, okay, as an example. So anyway, I appreciate the fact that Kimmy acknowledged that Melody stepping back wasn't her not caring about her. Melody respected Kimmy's request for some time and some privacy and some peace, and she wasn't trying to pester her with, what's wrong? Did I do something? What's happening here, right? She minded her business, took care of her own business, and waited for Kimmy to come to her. This is what Tisha was supposed to do when Melody found out that Martell was cheating. Not try to blame Melody or judge Melody for her reaction to finding out that her husband of 10 plus years was cheating. So if I find out my husband was cheating, you damn right I'm going to need a break from our relationship. I'm going to need a break from everything. But I think Tisha wanted the tea. She wanted the mess. She wanted to find out what was happening. And when she got iced out by Melody, because Melody was trying to heal and process things, she took it personally because there was some animosity between them, I suspect, before this situation even came to light. This is why I was saying before that Tisha was secretly jealous of Melody. And it's not something that she wanted to be, but I think that because she did not have empathy for Melody during this process, not even enough empathy to recognize the fact that Melody needed some space. Okay, she's her own person. You don't own her, right? Just because you're her friend and you were talking to her every single day doesn't mean that you're entitled to be a part of that healing process. Okay, anyway, so I was happy that Kim acknowledged that. So anyway, Melody was definitely touched by Kim's revelation of her cancer. Martell was too. Melody, you know, rubbed Kimmy on the shoulder. That is sort of how she shows people that she cares about them, or she's concerned for them. She did the same thing to Martell in season 3 when he was crying during their co-parenting session, and you know, she rubbed his shoulder to show support for his struggles. And she was, you know, she was sad for him. She was crying at that moment also. So now let's talk about something that happened at the dinner. So Melody shows up, and I'm going back a little bit. And she is notably cold or icy or a little bit detached from Martell. And she reveals the fact that Martell told Arionne about her having COVID when he got back from vacation and went back to Arionne. Now, Martell did not do the wrong thing by telling Arionne. But unfortunately, Arionne is a messy person. And so because Arionne's a messy person who's bitter and vicious and who hates Melody because of Martell's actions, because she hates Melody, she used Melody's medical diagnosis as a weapon against her to make her look bad. If you guys remember, when Martell came back from vacation a few months ago, Arionne went on social media and said that I bet you're double sick now. I bet you're double sick because now he's back here with me and you have COVID. And so Melody was triggered by that because in spite of her greatest efforts, she realized that the main issue that she had with Martell had not been resolved, okay? So this is Martell's fault again. Now, Martell wasn't wrong for telling Barracuda Mouth that he could have been potentially exposed to COVID because she has a baby, a young baby. They have a young baby together. I believe that Knox had some sort of respiratory illness for a while over the summer, and she was frustrated because she blamed Knox's illness on Melody's children because she said that he's not in childcare yet and the only children he's around are Melody's kids, and Melody's kids are in daycare and school like that, so he could have been exposed to something from one of his siblings, and she was, you know, upset about that. So Martell was right to tell Arionne that he was exposed to a dangerous disease, a respiratory illness that could affect their baby. He was right for doing that. Unfortunately though, because Martell had fostered a hostile, competitive, and contentious relationship between Arionne and Melody, that backfired on him, okay? So Melody in season 1 said that Martell never protected her or defended her against Arionne, right? He allowed her to say and do whatever the hell she wanted. At the end of season 2, Melody said, "You are having a baby by my enemy. After everything that she's done to me and said to me, instead of you punishing her by, you know, dumping her, instead of you defending your wife, who's the mother of your 4 children, you doubled down and got this chick pregnant for a 3rd time. And you allowed this angry, bitter chick to brag about her pregnancy with my husband, right? Didn't defend me, during the marriage, didn't defend me. During the divorce, didn't defend me after the divorce. So Melody is rightfully triggered. She's justifiably triggered. And now she doesn't feel safe again, because one of the issues that Melody had with Martell was the fact that he did not protect her from Arionne. Arionne hates Melody not because of what Martell said per se. It's because of what Melody represents. For Martell, Melody represents everything that he wants to be. She represents success. She represents progress, growth, pride, community, family, okay? Acceptance by society. And Arionne does not represent that. So no matter what Arionne says and does, Martell will never truly be satisfied with her because he's comparing her to Melody. Now again, Martell fostered this relationship between Melody and Arionne because it was beneficial to him. If he had the two women competing for his love and affection, right, it would make it easier for him to control them. So I want them to hate each other so that I can manipulate the both of them against the middle, okay? I can use them for what I want. I can keep them away from each other so that they can't form some sort of alliance and see that I'm lying to them both. As long as I do that, I can keep this thing going forever. Remember, Martell told Dr. Francis, I enjoyed the chaos. I enjoyed the dysfunction. I enjoyed having two women compete for my affections. No matter how much it was hurting them, he didn't care about that. All he cared about was what he was getting from that situation, okay? And he was chipping away at Melody's self-esteem. He was chipping away at her psychological health. He was chipping away at her emotionally and spiritually, and he didn't care about that because he wanted to use Arionne as a weapon against Melody to break her down and make her submit to him. He was trying to punish her for making him feel like a small man. But he was getting something out of the situation because he refused to leave her. So even though he had a problem with Melody, right, he wanted to hold on to her because she brought value to his life. And that is what Arionne hated about Melody. Arionne will always hate Melody, and there's nothing Melody can do to fix that. Because to be honest, most women, and many women, not most women, many women in Melody's position would have put Arionne in the hospital for what she was doing to her. She was antagonizing and taunting Melody and attacking Melody when she was pregnant, right? Melody was pregnant with their fourth child, and she was going on social media bragging about what she was doing to Martell, texting Melody really nasty messages. Martell did not protect Melody did. Instead, 3-4 months later, he gets her pregnant with Knox, right? And then the cycle continued, right? Then the abuse continued. Martell was feeding Arionne information about Melody so that she can talk to Tasha K about it. She can share with the blogs, okay? He wanted to destroy his ex-wife and use Arionne to do it. So now Melody's like, okay, I'm trying to meet Martell halfway. I'm trying to give him the opportunity to establish a healthy co-parenting relationship with me. And this is the things that I get. I get my medical information being disclosed to the public, not because of anything I've did wrong per se, but because my ex-husband is in a relationship with the person who helped to destroy my marriage, and he never checked the BITCH in the first place. This is the problem that she had with him since season 1. She asked Martell to check Arionne. Melody was like, you know, the issue wasn't necessarily the cheating, because she can look past that in a sense because nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. She talked about that, and most women who are married feel this way. But she said it was disrespectful cheating. He was blatant with it. He allowed this lady to call her phone and antagonize her. And this was happening year after year after year after year. No matter what Melody did, Martell would allow this lady to antagonize and taunt Melody in the way that he wishes that he could. We saw what happened at the end of season 2 when Martell said that, you know, she's satisfying me, and Melody lost her temper, right? Martell always threw this woman in her face. So again, Melody, in my opinion, is right for feeling the way that she does. But at the same time, Martell was not wrong for disclosing this information to Arionne, but Arionne is her enemy. And Martell made sure of it because he told Arionne things to make it seem like Melody was the reason why they couldn't be together happily ever after. Mind you, the whole time he's begging for his wife to come back to him. Okay? But because Arionne's a bird and she's bitter, she didn't see that. She's a pick-me and she's a bird, so she wanted to brag about her man, who's in love with his ex-wife, coming back from vacation to hang out with her and probably have sex with her because Melody didn't give him any. I wonder how she feels now watching this show 6 months later, after she was gloating about Martell coming back to her, you know, from the vacation he had with Melody. But while Martell was on vacation, you could see the regret and the pain and the sadness that he had in his eyes. He didn't even think about Arionne while he was on vacation, okay? So I wonder how she feels now, knowing that she was bragging about a man who wasn't even fucking with her like that. And he showed her evidence of this time and time again. But birds will usually attack a woman, an innocent woman, over their ancient man who's been lying to them for 5, 6, 7 years. And this is why Melody cannot trust Martell, because Martell is close to her enemy. So Melody giving Martell access to her life, to her space, to her time, to her energy, makes her vulnerable to attack from Arionne, who he never protected her from since day one. And the reason for that is partially because Martell wanted Arionne to attack Melody. That was her job. That was her objective. I need you to make my wife feel small. I need you to make my wife feel the way that she makes me feel when she puts me in my place. Okay? When she shows her leadership skills. When she shows a lack of patience for my incompetence and my laziness. Because she's not doing what I want her to do in my household. So yeah, you know, Martell telling Arionne about her business probably gave Melody some flashbacks about the drama that was happening in their relationship. Going back and forth with a side piece, are you serious? And your husband doesn't see anything wrong with that? He doesn't see the need to defend you? Yes, Martell defended Melody when it came to the Scotts and Miss Wanda, and you know they had a fight in the streets, and Martell was trying to show and prove that he was, you know, looking out for Melody. And that's partially the reason why they came together and started to reconcile some sort of friendship between them, okay? I get that. But with this situation, Martell never apologized to Melody. Not from what we've seen. He never apologized to Melody for allowing another woman to destroy his home, for using another woman to hurt her. He never apologized to her for not protecting her. He apologized for the things that he did as far as the cheating itself and the disrespect. But he never said, I really effed up by, you know, using this woman to hurt you like this. This woman who has never done nothing for me, she's a liability. She hasn't built anything with me, right? She hasn't elevated my life in any way. I'm allowing her to attack and abuse the woman who basically made me. Martell and Melody worked hard together, but Melody is the person who elevates people around her. She has high expectations for herself and her partners. So she was challenging Martell to be the best that he could be. And he resented her for that because he could not keep up. And Arionne was a comfortable space where he could just be, you know, a chill, laid back, pseudo-entrepreneur showing off his pretty girlfriend to the rest of his homies, right? There's no responsibilities here. There's no accountability. It's just, let me use the money that my wife is earning, in a sense, to flex and floss for somebody who doesn't have anything to offer besides her looks. Okay? Now I'm going to say this. I don't think that pretty women automatically have nothing to offer, right? Or that's not what I'm saying, because Melody is very attractive too. But what ends up happening is that when a lot of girls rest on their beauty and they use their beauty to get resources or access to certain things, there's a certain level not laziness, but in many instances these women are destructive and they anchor a man down. Not in a positive way, but a negative way, because instead of Arionne having her own life to focus on, right? Instead of her having her own career, her own aspirations and goals and education that she would want to protect, because she didn't have anything else but her relationship with Martell, she had nothing to lose. So she was willing to go 10 toes down and go on a kamikaze mission to destroy her boyfriend's wife. Arionne was very upset about the fact that Melody had the audacity to hold on to her own husband. And she's bitter about the fact that Melody represents everything she is not. Even if Martell never told her this explicitly, the fact that Martell was willing to fight and to hold on to a woman that he said he despised. He was willing to breadcrumb Arionne, right? Sending her one-sentence texts using her for sex only, never really claiming her publicly the way he claimed Sheree in a couple of months, right? Because Melody is associated with Martell's fondest memories of himself, of his life in general, and she can't compete with that because she really had nothing to offer but dysfunction and chaos in his life, and he allowed her to do it, she will always have smoke for Melody. And Melody is now aware of this. And so she is going to not overreact, but she's going to become more defensive around him. Now, when you invite me to your wine tasting, I don't know if I want to show up because you are reminding me of why we got divorced in the first place. You're reminding me that you always put this chick's needs over my own. You even put this lady's needs over your own children. And Martell did this because he wanted to maintain access to Arionne's supply. He knows that by checking Arionne, he won't be able to lie to her as easily or as readily as he usually does. So he'll give her carte blanche to do whatever to Melody and say whatever to Melody, because he needs her for narcissistic supply whenever Martell feels slighted or invalidated by Melody for whatever reason, right? And so I think this hurt Melody. It really did, because Arionne, putting her on blast on social media reminded her of everything that's happened over the years that she's tried to heal from, and that brought her back to a dark space, like a dark place where she was reminded of how insignificant Martell made her feel. And so because Arionne felt emboldened enough to disrespect Melody again, Melody has the right to assume that Martell is still talking shit about her. Whether he's doing it or not, I don't know. But you are not controlling your side piece. You're not controlling this mistress. You're not controlling your girlfriend. I remember when Jada Pinkett had a conversation with Sheree Zampino, who's Will Smith's ex-wife. And Jada said one day that, they had an argument about something going on in their house. And Jada Pinkett was like, well, it's my house now, right? And she said when she got off the phone with Sheree, Will Smith lit her behind up. He got in her ass, okay? He told her, don't you ever talk to my ex-wife like that again. Because even though Will Smith was not in a good place with Sheree, he still loved her and valued her enough and respect her enough to want to protect her from harm. Even if he wasn't sleeping with her anymore, right? He wasn't getting his needs met from her anymore. He still wanted to protect her because he saw her as a human being, not just a sex object that was there for his gratification. That's the difference between a person who is, empathetic and a person who's a narcissist. So Martell only saw value in Melody when she was giving him what he wanted. And when he stopped, he tried to destroy her. And because, according to him, Melody wasn't giving him what he wanted, she was not good enough to be protected anymore. He basically treated Melody like she was for the streets. Okay, you're not giving me what I want? I'm going to let the rabid dogs and hyenas and the streets and the hood and the side pieces talk mad shit about you because you were only valuable to me when you were giving me what I wanted. And so when Arionne, went on social media talking shit about Melody, this brought back all the trauma. And Melody does not appreciate somebody having the power. Most people don't. Most people don't appreciate someone else having the power to embarrass you, to humiliate you, to make you feel self-conscious or insecure. Okay? So here I am trying to do the best that I can. I'm protecting myself from the riffraff. Okay? I divorced this man. I'm making progress. We're co-parenting together. We're trying to be cool. And here this viper comes from behind his back, stinging me again, trying to destroy the relationship I'm building with my ex-husband. Arionne does not want Martell and Melody to be friends, okay? Because Arionne is jealous and insecure about the fact that Melody still has a hold on Martell. Arionne doesn't even want Martell to remember Melody at all. She wishes Melody did not exist. That's the kind of hatred she has for her. Because as long as Melody exists, Martell will never be truly satisfied with her. And she is basically upset about the fact that Melody owns a piece of his heart. And that part of his heart she wants access to. It's as simple as that. It's contradictory for me to say that Martell doesn't value Melody enough to protect her because she's not giving him what he wants anymore. At the same token, saying that Melody owns a piece of his heart. But when you're dealing with narcissists, both can be true. They can put you on a pedestal, like a toy, their favorite toy. And then when they're done with their favorite toy and they see a new shiny object, they'll put you in a box for a year or 2 years, right? And then when somebody else comes around to play with their old favorite toy, they'll say, no, that's my toy. And you're like, well, you haven't played with this toy for 6 months, for a year, but it's still my toy now. And then they'll act like it's a brand new toy again because they don't want nobody else touching it. That is how Martell thinks about Melody and the women in his life, okay? So yeah, in contrast to Will Smith, who protected his ex-wife because he still valued her as a human being, which is why Jada Pinkett and Cherie have a close relationship to this day, because Will Smith wanted that to happen. He did not want Cherie to feel like, oh, you know, somebody's replacing you, somebody's better than you. Even though Jada was trying to come on that kind of tip, Will was like, no, you're not doing that. She's the mother of my first child. You know, if things didn't work out, I still have love for her. She is not worth less as a human being because we're getting a divorce. No. Unlike Martell, like I said, you're not satisfying me, so let me just break this toy up. Am I getting what I want from you? I'm not happy with you. Let me just scribble all over you and break your arms off, you know, and cut your hair, Barbie doll hair off. Let me just deface you and defile you to the public so that nobody else wants you because you're not satisfying me anymore. And to make matters worse, I'm going to allow my side piece, who has done nothing for me, to feel as if they qualify for your position as your replacement, okay? And, you know, this happened for years. So while people may say Melody was, she was being petty or she was being too sensitive, you have to understand the context of what's happened, okay? If you allow somebody back into your life that's hurt you in the past, you've forgiven them, and then one of their friends or their homies go on social media talking about your personal business, you're going to feel betrayed again. If Martell had not allowed this to go on between Arionne and Melody for so long, right? If he had nipped it in the bud in the beginning, Melody would have had a different reaction because she would have seen it as, you know, things happen. Melody is smart enough to think about things objectively. Things happen, you know, whatever. But because this is the type of dynamic that Martell cultivated between Arionne and Melody, you know, she feels threatened. She feels betrayed. She feels like, I can't trust this dude again. And he's not going to publicly put this lady in her place the same way he publicly tried to put me in my place. Martell never had any smoke for what Arionne was doing against Melody. He never said or he never demonstrated that he was in disagreement with what Arionne was saying about Melody. That is the problem. So if you are friends with my enemy, then you're my enemy too. It's quite obvious. And yes, Arionne is definitely Melody's enemy. So she's right to feel defensive. She's right to feel some kind of way. But if they wanted to, Martell and Melody can fix this. If Martell shows genuine remorse by at least demonstrating that he does not agree with what Arionne is saying, by putting Arionne in her place, by apologizing to Melody publicly for allowing Arionne to disrespect her the same way he apologized to Arionne for calling her a peasant, right? If he does this, then maybe Melody will forgive him again. Martell has many flaws that Melody has looked over time and time again, but she doesn't want to sacrifice her peace. And that's fair, okay? So yeah, if Martell genuinely wants to piece things up with Melody, he'll see things from her position. I don't think he was wrong. Again, I don't think he was wrong for telling Arionne about the COVID situation. It's just that Arionne is so immature and a bird that she turned it into an attack. She basically followed the program that Martell had established. She didn't have any empathy for Melody. It was nothing. It was all about, let me get my digs at Melody because Melody had the audacity to stay married to her husband and have another baby by her husband while her husband was using me as a sex object. It's as simple as that. Alright, I'm going to leave it there. If you want to order a personal astrology or tarot reading, you can go to my website. The link is in the description box. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe. Happy holidays, and I'll speak to you soon.